Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Tuesday, August 19th, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. With us, we have our trusty mod, Keyboard Yeti, and our co-founder and Chief Business Development Officer, Matt Cross. Looking at the market today, you have Bitcoin sort of hanging out around 115,842. Ethereum's at 4324. Not too bad. A little bit of a pullback. The fear and greed index is just about in the middle. Uh, it's pretty much like staging for blast off. So we're just sitting there looking and waiting to see when the typical September October run starts to take effect, and see if we're going to see a resurgence in possibly altcoins this fall season. Not that it's something that we promote very heavily, but one of those things is worth taking a observation of, to make sure that, as retail comes back, they start to test the waters to get involved in new projects. But again, just want to caution everybody: don't try to just hit 1,000x at the expense of missing a 10x, right? So everybody, just make sure you take good care of yourself out there. Speaking of which, how's it going with you, Matt? How was your weekend?
Doing great, had a pretty good weekend. Went to the beach for one day and got way too sunburnt. So, I think everyone knows how that goes.
Yeah.
Wish I wore a little bit more sunscreen out there.
What about you, Yeti? How you doing, man?
Yeah, real good, man. We had some old friends come and visit from down south, get away from the freezing cold down there into the tropical weather. So yeah, it's a nice weekend, and just getting super pumped for launch, which is very soon.
Yes.
I know we haven't announced but so soon.
Yeah. One more blocker to clear before launch. We just got to make sure that we it's not up to us. We just got to clear the compliance checks for the custody stuff, and then we're good to go. So just want to make sure, and we're good. It just takes a while for the paperwork to filter through. And what you don't want to do is you don't want to issue the tokens too close to. You don't want to have them sitting around for too long. So it's all got to kind of happen at once. And we whether or not everybody else decides to do it, we decided to take the extra precaution of making sure that everything was set with an auditable, chartered entity that could hold the tokens, and it's not just us freeballing it out there, just being like, yeah, trust us, it's all good, like. So the community deserves that much, at least, for everything they've done, and we want to set an example for, this is kind of how you should do it. So a couple extra pieces of paperwork. As soon as we get the go ahead, you guys will, what to do, and I know you and Roaming and Dilly are kind of waiting to be able to let everybody know. So I'm super psyched too. So the topic of today is basically, time is everything. Split second that decides the outcome. I think that's more a clickbaity way to do it. Thanks for getting that together and putting that up there. But it is true. Like, I mean, and what we were going to talk about is the timing of bringing this whole thing together. But in the interest of make sure everybody gets their money's worth for showing up, I think it's probably worth talking about what can help you win in the game early. And people are going to game against this. What we were looking at, we were seeing the data. We already have people in the alpha group there that have their own sort of system. It looks like that some of the people have worked out some types of ways to play the game according to a bunch of rules. And there's people that are fairly disciplined about the way they go about it already. So we know it's going to be super competitive. But one thing that I would say, and Matt can back me up on this, but what you want to do is you kind of want to look at the previous, I'd say, 5 to 10 intervals, whatever. You're looking at the 1 minute game. It's, look at the 1 minute. You want to look at the 24-hour game. You go back a few intervals, and you see sort of which way the direction the market's heading. So when the game opens, you want to get a position down right away in the direction you think the market's heading, because it is. And just so everybody knows, we're taking this price feed off the Chicago Board of Options and Equities, right? And it aggregates all trades. So it gets pretty wildly variant over the course of whatever interval you're playing. However, it does seem like in the aggregate, it follows the direction of the market and the people that are playing right now, where we see there's some people who conspicuously pick the way the market is trending every single time on the first dot. I think that's a pretty good strategy, right? And then what I try to do is I'll put dots. I think, well, here's which way I think it's heading, and then here's where I think it can get to. So I'll put 2 dots down really early. And then what I'll do is I'll hedge with the third dot. So where I think it can go, and I'll play the other side. And then I'll usually give it a couple seconds, see which way it's heading, put the fourth dot down, and then save the fifth one in case the market goes on a run. And that is done pretty well for me. I mean, you could see me on the leaderboards when I play. I'm usually up near the top, and it's usually one of those positions, either right in the beginning when I get a huge payout, or I'll save it with one of the ones in the middle that keeps me on the leaderboard. So that's working out pretty well. But we see people that have their own system, and we know that as the game gets more and more busy, as there's people in there, that people are going to be having gamified decoys and counter strategies and all these other things for spots. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Matt, do you have any ways that, because you do really well when you play too, like how are you doing it?
Yeah, I definitely play a little bit riskier than you. One of the strategies I deploy first off is get the dots down as early as possible, because it gives you the biggest advantage to have the time in game. But then second, I like to see how the chart is fluctuating, and you get these really big dips, and sometimes I'll choose a dot super early, just slightly above the dip, and I'll choose a side. I'll be like, okay, if I see this being volatile, I think the price is going to go up. So why don't I take a dot slightly outside of the current range and believe that it's going to hit there early enough? And when you're right on those, the multiplier is so much greater than putting it within the normal range, because you're taking a position that someone else isn't, taking in that moment. And because of that, you have a greater reward payout because you're still relative to the other players in the game. So when you're kind of siloed out there, you could maybe hit a 2x, maybe even 10x or greater. And then that can pay for the other games that you ended up losing. So it is a good way to kind of, hedge your other games. But again, there's a lot more risk in there. So if you're not hitting them, then you're gonna, be behind at the end.
Yeah, I think that's right. What about you, Yeti? You're fairly successful in your own right. What are you doing?
I don't know if I'm fairly successful. I I love it, but so the success for me is in the fun playing, I guess. But I pick. So I think my most successful thing is kind of similar to what you said. I pick the like getting one really early with what direction I think it's going. But then I often will pick one, like look at where the AI prediction is, because it seems pretty good at predicting not the exact spot price, but the movement, like the direction. And so then I look at the volatility the last couple of games and kind of pick one that's got about that kind of movement, but in the direction of the AI line. And then I save one or two for the very end, just to try and snipe the very end, particularly if I see that there hasn't been many positions put down on that line, so that you can get your accuracy is weighted higher.
Yeah, and then we have a couple of tricks up our sleeves, just so everybody knows, where we've only been running one AI model for the AI line during tests, and we're about to turn on, I think there's 9 of them now. So the AI line is going to become a lot more competitive than it has been in previous tests. So that window is going to get even tighter. However, it does probably signal that when there's a bunch of variants, that the reward is going to be much greater for people to go after it. So that's going to be a lot of fun. When and by the way, I just asked Brian, Mr. NYC Street Photography here, because he likes to come on, especially when we're demoing to investors and people that you want to play really well and get them feeling good and be like, yeah, look at this. And then Brian will come in and crush them. So I wanted to get his perspective on what he does to play the game, because he's definitely got some kind of a method for it. He's gonna hit me as soon as he gets someplace to speak. But I think it's one of those things where timing is everything. The earlier you get it down, we've seen that definitely. I think, was it roaming that hit 323,000 or something? It was maybe that was Brian, but we had somebody win in testing a 323%, 323,000% payout, which is kind of wild for 1 minute of work. But it's one of those things where if you nail it right as the game opens, you're good. All right, let's see. Did we get? We got Brian up here. Brian, what do you do? Like, what when you come on and you get after it? Like, what are you doing?
Hey, how's it going,
Hey,
everybody? Um, Glad to be here. Thanks, Frank. What I do is I start small. I start with one flag. I get into the rhythm, and then I just increase it, and then I just try to take everyone else's flag.
so okay, so actually that's a good point, because you're varying the size of your positions, right? Like, so and
Yeah,
it definitely, I do see people doing that when the market is volatile. They'll play a bunch of smaller positions, and when the market is trending in one way or the other, they'll increase the size of their positions when there's more confidence on which way it's going. But you sound like you just you just sound like you're just playing with the force and just going after it, like
yeah.
all right, I
And,
mean, that's
and, and mostly it's just fun because like I'm just a regular guy doing this. I'm not a financial expert at all. I'm just looking at it visually and figuring it out. So all the other aspects to this game are just additional cool stuff. But to me, I just see, because I do photography, and the whole thing about photography, just like anything, like with that type of stuff, is you need to be in position to get the goods. So it's kind of the same mentality.
yeah. Yeah, everybody out there, Ricky or Brian is a recipient of the PhD from the Rickford Institute in street photography. So he knows a thing or two
Yeah.
about a thing or two. And I saw him confer the degree on Matt Cross in New York as well.
Yes.
By the way, I am also a recipient of the PhD from the Rickford Institute. He did confer one on me back in 2012, I believe. So yeah, we missed that guy. Ricky, if you haven't checked out his photos, we'll put some links up to his stuff. But Ricky Powell, great photographer. Brian is one of his proteges and carrying on Ricky's work in New York City. Both of them do really great work. They have a book in the Library of Congress you can get on Amazon. It's called NYC Street Photography, and it's great. It's a great book to put on your coffee table and for people to look at when it's there. So
Yeah,
thanks for that,
and,
Brian.
and
Appreciate you, man.
no, no problem. And one thing on that, we made it to be an affordable art book for regular people. It was only supposed to be sold for $30. That was the whole idea behind it. So you could
Yeah, they're
fit in your
selling them for
backpack.
$2,500 now.
That's what I'm. Yeah, so but that's like a lesson in scarcity. I didn't really even think about that when we started doing it. We were just doing it for fun, same as the game, just doing it for fun. And then I'm one of the top players in the game. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, man. All right.
Thanks for having me, Frank.
All right, man. Appreciate you. Have a good day, man.
Peace. Ciao.
Yep. Yeah. So Matt, anything to add to that?
Yeah, about some of these strategies, right? I think you got to be consistent with it. I think, like anything, if you change things up too much, then you're gonna miss some opportunity that you could have had if you stuck to the same strategy. And then also, I think there is a slight intuitive nature to it as well. Of trust your brain. We're all pretty good at pattern recognition, and if you look at this long enough, you'll start to expect those swings and dips. And then also when you start to see it building towards a ceiling, understand that, okay, there's a chance that, they're going to be able to knock some, long positions out of this, and we might have a price surge way down. So maybe when we're about to hit a ceiling, take something in a lower position so that in case the price comes crashing down, you're there sweeping up all the rewards.
That's a good point, actually. And again, I want to stress varying the size of your position, so you could be consistent with the way you're going after it, and vary the size of your position based on how confident you are that you're in the mode that yours is working. So if you play those two, you can pull off. Again, it's one of those things where you could sit there and in 1 hour playing conservatively, you could be up 50, 80%, right? You could be up way more than that if you get one correct early. You could be thousands of percent up in 1 minute. But if you're just going to sit there and grind away at it, there's a way to do that too. Which is one of the things I like about this game so much, is that you're playing with everybody else. It's you versus AI versus other people. It's precision and timing, and the payout that you get is directly commensurate with the amount you put up as risk and how early you get it into the game to improve the overall signal in the game. So I think this is one of the ones I was really proud of, man. Like I'm really proud of range rivals. Like that game is going to be awesome too, but for a different reason. Like range rivals, when we launch that on the back of this year, is going to be, everybody starts at the same time, and everybody's precision is overweighted. So the exponent for time and game for spot is even greater for precision for range rivals. But it encourages everybody to play it really tight, because those are the people that are going to get a really big reward. And then the risk is you bust out and you fall into the pot. But that's going to feel like a horse race. I think we've put the ability to. So obviously, it's the internet. We know better than to let people free form text, talk back and forth to each other. But we are going to let everybody use emojis, and you can preload emojis and kind of talk smack to everybody in the game. And obviously, everyone's going to be rooting for the top candle to bust out. So it's going to feel like a combination of like Real Housewives of New Jersey plus horse racing, where everyone's like rooting against their favorite character throughout the thing. Yeah, but spot on is one of those ones where there's so many different strategies to make it work, and the more we're seeing with big games with lots of people, or flat markets, or flat markets, obviously the earlier you get in, the better, right? So that one's pretty simple. But choppy markets with lots of people, there's just so many different kinds of strategies to play the market, and then from what you can get out of that, the learnings, and apply it to the signal that we're getting, it's like unwrapping, and like from a research perspective, it's like unwrapping a new toy every day for Christmas, where you just get to see all these things that you can apply to real world financial markets, because we're breaking them up into 1 minute chunks, and then sitting there figuring out how people solve for the visual piece and the intuitive piece, and how to codify that, and then put some rules around it and improve the whole system altogether. So in case you were wondering, that's what we're doing.
I feel like we're going to have some kind of arms race of who can get in earliest, like with high frequency traders moving closer and closer to the stock exchange so that their signal doesn't have to travel as far. We're going to have people trying to find where our data centers are so they can get in that fraction of a second earlier.
Yep. Yeah, that's probably right. By the way, the book, if you're ever interested in there's a book on that called Flash Boys by Michael Lewis. He's one of my favorite writers, but he wrote literally about that concept, about like getting as close as you can to the data centers. And then in New York, that data center, I used to live at a building at 80 John Street, and 80 John Street is right next to 100 William Street. They're I used to live at the corner of John and Gold, and the other block was William. So the two buildings were fused together, and everybody used to compete for space in 100 William, because that was where the data centers for the markets were in the early 2000s. So little bit of trivia, but floor space on there was thousands of dollars a square foot to put racks in there. So it was super competitive to get stuff in there. And you're right. Like I could see people trying to find ways to get positions down. However, it does move around a lot. So just getting them down first doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be a winner, but it does increase your odds. So something to keep an eye on. Like if I didn't know any better, I would still figure out a way to, like, by looking at the game, to make sure I got one down in the first 2 or 3 seconds, no matter what, every game. So, if you're going to play, get one down fast. That's probably the best piece of advice anybody can give you. Try to guess the direction. And if you have some models or anything on your side, use it. By the way, we're not against that at all. And we want people to come up with their own models to outcompete our AI. Our AI is going to use that signal to tune itself. So, we want people to bring their most competitive strategies. We want them to beat us regularly so that we can figure out and learn. And then we want people to be smart, intuitive, have fun. So I think we have all those pieces. Looking forward to it. Speaking of which, timing, right? I want to just go briefly down memory lane here with Matt about how many chances we had to mistime this thing. So when we started, we were probably in position to launch the token last year in May or June, right? And Matt and I were looking at the market and kind of sort of reading the tea leaves and realizing that, like, if we go out, it might work, but we're like the retail volume in the market was so low that we thought if we go out here, it's probably going to crush the token, and there's no sense doing that to people who had won a bunch of them in the Mantle AI Fest, and it didn't seem like the right thing to do. But now now it's a bit different. Like because we delayed that, because we didn't do it, and because we didn't pay the exorbitant extortion fees of some of the exchanges, it put us in a pretty good spot to be able to do what we're doing now. So I don't know, Matt. How many chances have we got to do the wrong thing in this so far? It seems like there's so many near misses.
Yeah, I would say, there's definitely a lot of preaching from the choir in this industry. It seems that everybody from the outside, knows what to do, and they'll try to give you quote unquote advice about when to launch or how to do it. But again, this is a very new industry where no one's actually paved the path themselves, and so they're just following some type of trend and seeing maybe what some other people have done and just expecting it to work. Oh wait, I'm gonna sneeze. Sorry. Oh my god, it didn't come through, I guess. I was right there on the edge. Sorry, everyone. And everyone again, thinks they know best. And what we've always done is just stuck to our guns and just decided, hey, this is a new industry, it's developing. Let's do what we think is right for the community at all times and keep their interest. And so, a bunch of people have tried to push us to list. They probably just wanted to, try to get us there earlier so that they could, get a little bit more liquidity out of the project. And what we've decided to do is hold out, wait for better markets, continue to build trust with the community. And again, we got really good at telling people to, screw off. And, we're going to do it our way. And, this is something that we've had a ton of discussions about. And again, I think everything that we've ever done was a great decision. And it's always good to, continue to do best on behalf of the community, gain more of a following, prepare all the games, get all of the, early kinks out before you go launch so that when you do, you have, a really good reputation going into the market. People are excited to, purchase the token, play in these new games. And that's exactly what we've done here. I'm really proud about our team and Frank over here because, even though we've gotten all these little birds in our ear, we've always gone back, used logic, and decided what to do ourselves.
Yeah, it would have been super easy to just sell out and just be like, okay, and then you have some of the investors that have come up to us and been like, well, you want to go early because you don't want to be selling into a bear market. Really, what that means is I want to unlock all my tokens before the bear market comes, and I don't really care about the timing. And we could quickly and conveniently ignore those people as well. The point is, we got to make money for our investors, but we got to do it the right way, right? And I think if you're out there and you're going to start a company or you're going to start a project like this, um, you have to know when to balance the advice you're getting with like what is actually in the best interest of the company, not just is great for one or two parties, right? Because that happens. It happens a lot. Like I've had so many instances where somebody gives you some advice. You get this a lot with VC investments where they'll give you investments that might greatly increase the risks for your business, but if it works on the off chance it does, you get a ridiculous, crazy payout. And what it does for them is helps their portfolio. But you only have the one shot. You and your people have to take care of each other to get to the one thing. And you put all your eggs in that one basket and then watch that basket and make sure you do it. So, um, don't trade you and your people for, you know, some moonshot that somebody else that doesn't really have to care about it, you know, doesn't care as much about you about it. So that's going to come up a bunch. When that happens, drop me a note because if you're out there, I guarantee it'll happen. The very first company you start that gets venture funded. Um, and the other thing is, don't stop going for the moonshots either, but just figure it out your way and then go get after it, right? So those are great. Also, speaking about timing, shout out to FB. We see him in the audience. FB and Adrian, Matt, myself, Becky to a little bit there. We've all been working on the new deck. The new deck is ready. So as we position this in terms of timing, we're going to start rolling the beta out. We're going to give the market a chance to invest in the A round, not the retail market, but the investors will have a chance to invest in the A round if they want to prior to us launching. However, they're not going to get the same unlocks that everybody that has tokens currently has. So it's going to be obviously a little tighter on the token side. So we'll de-risk the project a little bit, but we're going to make sure that we favor everybody that has one or accrued tokens. So it's again the idea is to do right by everybody and do the right thing. Am I leaving anything out, Yeti?
No, I mean, I reckon you've covered it pretty well. Strategy to the timing stuff that affected Metafide with you and Matt. Yeah, I think it's all you've done a great job.
Yeah, so thanks, man. So just to reiterate, summarize, when you play spot on, get a position down early and try to find some way to discern which way the market is trending. Get it on that side of the line, and then, like I said, I'll try to figure out where it's most likely to go and then where it could go, and I try to hit those two spots. My third dot, I hedge the first two, and then if it's wildly moving, I'll do what we make fun of Radio Frog out there. I don't see him on, but we have a guy that joins us a bunch, Radio Frog, and we call him a line rider because he's always riding the lines. But like, I'll use the third one to ride the line, or the fourth one to ride the line, and the fifth one I save in case the market goes on a run. And then, like Matt was saying, he has a bit of a riskier strategy, but it works for him. And Brian's strategy is to just make sure you're just in it and trying to use your intuition to figure out which way it's going to go. And honestly, I don't mind saying Brian beats all of us when he's in the game. When Brian comes in, he usually winds up at the top of the leaderboard most of the time. So whatever he's doing, I would say try to find out when he's in the game and watch him. So try to copy and or improve it. But yeah, I just want to say thanks everybody. Find us on discord.gg/Fide-token. Find us on YouTube at Metafide. Find us on X at Fide_AI. And make sure you're registered for the waitlist, surge.metafide.io. Not much more time to get on the wait list. We're going to start rolling people in. We have a few 100,000 folks queued up between our direct registrants and our partnerships. So if you're on that list, you're going to get priority and you're going to get a way to move up. That's the best way to do it. So make sure you're there. And then in the meantime, I'll see everybody. We'll see everybody Thursday. I'm not sure I'll be on that one, but we'll see everybody Thursday. Have a good week until then, and everybody take care of yourself. All right. Bye.
Take care, everyone. Metafide is the only AI-powered Bitcoin prediction game where traders compete in real time to forecast BTC's price in a fast 1 to 5 minute round. Test your skills against global players. Take on 1x risk with the ability to win multiplied payouts and prize pots. The more accurate and early, the better the outcome. Pre-register now for early access to generational wealth.